How are you, everybody who is watching this video? I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you in workshop or lecture 7 of electronics communication laboratory. I have some physical students, and also I would like to invite some online students to join me into this interesting moment of learning about communication amplifiers. It's the first time to meet me. My name is Olenjolain. I'm very happy to have you today. And I've prepared, I think, a good brain for you to digest and actually to be introduced about electronics communication amplifiers. What are the requirements? Because you have to listen to these contents. These contents actually will take us to simulation, and then it will take us into the hardware implementation. I would like just to apologize. My voice today is not good because I'm not okay in case of my health. So possibly you won't hear my audible sound. But that's not a great deal because this is the business we are born for. So I believe that the gear will change as long as we continue with this program. How are you, students? I have some physical engineering students who have joined in this class, and I would like to appreciate them. And I would like to take them and combine with you in order to move step to step. So if that's the case, let me ask them and ask you, are you ready for the workshop number 7? Yes. Are you ready for workshop number 7? Yes. Well, so let us start. Quick review of previous workshop 6. So the title of workshop 6, it was actual all about introductions about analogy communication system. Analogy communication system. Then we define this terminology. We say that analog communication system, simply this is the types of communication system whereby the information transmitted is analog signal, and also not only just the analog signal, but even the means of transmission is also by using analog system. And then we say that we have 2 types of analog communication system. The first one, we call it, or just we discuss about the physical means. Then we discuss about the physical means that we are using for the analog communication. And then we mentioned 3 physical means. The first one, copper wires. The second ones, we mentioned about coaxial cable. And then the third one, we mentioned about twisted pair wires. And then we discussed or introduced to you about the 3 main parts of any telecommunication or telecommunication system. Then after introducing, and then she said that we just have transmitter, we have medium, we have receiver. Then the next concept that I've introduced to you about types of types of analog communication system. Then we say that we have guided communication system, and also we have unguided communication system. Unguided communication system. Then we discussed the very important part, which is about block diagram of any communication system or any telecom system. Then we discussed about the general block diagram of a communication system. So for this case, we had 3 blocks, and then we opened these 3 blocks, and then we found 6 blocks. Then we discussed about the general block diagrams of of guided communication system and general block diagrams of unguided communication system. And then I think that I left the homework. I mentioned that in conception of analog communication system, most of analog communication system consists at least 5 parts, which is amplifier, and the other one is oscillator, filter, differentiator, and the integrator. So today, let us pay attention about electronics. If you've missed the workshop 6, you should not worry. I will give you an access on how you can access it. Electronics communication amplifiers. This is the subtitle that we are going to cover today. Say electronics communication amplifiers. Say loudly, say electronics communication amplifiers. Say electronics communication amplifiers. So let us start the first phenomena, which is called the amplifier. The word amplifier, it's not new terminology in your mind. The word amplifier, it's not a new terminology in your mind. The word amplifier, it's not a new word in your mind. But because you have also some terminology of amplifiers in usual cases, so let me just write this one. What is electronics amplifiers? Because this terminology is not new. There's one radio station in Tanzania called it Clouds. They have a session of amplifier from Monday to Friday. And the radio reporter is usually used to be Millard Ayo. So the radio stations of that's called the amplifier, actually it's one of the radio stations which is imitating what the amplifiers does. So now, ask yourself, what is electronics amplifier? Ask yourself. I say, ask yourself, what is the meaning of electronics amplifier? Once you ask yourself, you get an idea, write it down. Alphonse, who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Am I talking to all the students, including yourself? Where is the exercise book? Go and take exercise book. Hurry up. Hurry up. Write the definition of electronics communication amplifier. Where is your exercise book? Can I see? What is this? Go and take exercise book. Hurry up. So once you ask yourself, then ask your neighbor. Where is my mission? electronics amplifier, you can define it by using different style. So an electronics amplifier or electronics amplifier is an electronics device. So electronics amplifier is an electronics device for increasing the amplitude of electric signal. The amplitude of electric signal or electric signals. Used chiefly in sound production. This is used chiefly in sound production. Or some of the sources define electronics amplifier an electronics amplifier simply we say that sometimes we call it, in short we call it electric amplifier. Electric amplifier is an electronics device. This is an electronics device that can increase the power of the signal. Power of the signal. And this signal, we can call it a time varying voltage or a time varying current. So these are the two definitions of electronics amplifier. You may find any or you may find another definition of electronics amplifier, but trust me that you will find some common keywords in those two definitions. So electronics amplifier, this is an electronics device. Say electronics device. Say electronics device. So this is an electronics device for increasing the amplitude of electric signals, used chiefly in sound production. So we use a lot amplifiers, especially whenever we want to produce sound. It doesn't mean that we just have electronics amplifiers only in sound. We'll see we have different types of amplifiers. But this is just a preference of the Oxford Dictionary, actually to give you a simple example where that you can encounter the word amplifier. Or in other words, an electronics amplifier or electric amplifier, this is an electronics device. It's an electronic device that can increase the power of the signal. And this signal is either a time varying voltage or a current or a time varying current. So each definition gives you an idea in your mindset. For instance, the second definition is actually give you an idea about how the waveform will change of that electric signal. That's why that we've been told that in most cases that whenever you define about electronics amplifiers, then we have to think about the signal which will be applied to that amplifier might be either a time voltage varying signal or a time current varying what? Signal. So when you say that the varying current or varying voltage, we don't mean about domestic alternating current or domestic AC. We mean about these are the signals of the low voltage, but sometimes might have low frequency or medium frequency or high frequency. Because I know that in A level you have the concepts of AC theory, and you know that the domestic power is all about 220 volts up to 240 volts, or 110 volts up to 120 volts, and so frequency is 50 and 60 hertz. So whenever you hear about alternating voltage, alternating signal, you might think about domestic power. So remember that whenever we say that or we discuss about the time varying voltage or the time varying current, we mean that the information signal which might have low voltage with high frequency or medium frequency or low frequency. Are we together? Are we together, class? Are we together? Class, are we together? Yeah, so this is the way that you can define about electronics communication amplifiers. Then types, let us discuss about types of electronics communication, types of electronics communication, types of electronics communication amplifiers. So it depends. When you want to discuss our types of electronics communication amplifiers, no, types of amplifiers, sorry. Types of amplifiers. When you want to discuss about types of electronics amplifiers, then you should specify that what the important factor that you have to take consideration on classifying those different types of the amplifiers. So when we categorize them, or we discuss the types of electronics amplifiers, based on the type of electric parameter which will be amplified, we can have three types of electronics amplifiers. Did you hear what I said? No. You heard, but you didn't take it. You didn't save in your brain. Let me repeat. I said, whenever we discuss, there are the different ways that you can categorize or you can actually classify electronics amplifiers. And in each style that you are going to categorize, you have to specify what factor are you taking into consideration. Right? So I said, if you take the factor that about the nature or which electric signal which is going to be amplified, then you have three types of amplifiers. Did you hear what I said? Save it. I said, please make sure that you inspect your neighbor on my behalf. Because the distance between the upper copy and lower copy is negligible for some of your neighbors. So when I will identify your neighbor is slumbering, I will punish all of you. In electronics, telecommunication, engineering. In electronics and telecommunication engineering, there are 3 types of electronics amplifiers, depending on the type of electric parameter that is being amplified. Okay? So the factor here is just the type. The type of what? Electric parameter. Say the type of electric parameter. Ask your neighbor, how many electric parameters do you know? Where is Faustina? Call her. Ask your neighbor, how many types of electric parameters do you know? Possibly your neighbor know nothing. When your neighbor mentioned 3 or 4, ask him or her to mention to you. Ask your neighbor. So your neighbor know nothing about electric parameters. You know, sometimes you may complicate a simple question. The question is simple, but you complicate it. You know nothing about voltage. Do you know nothing about current? Do you know nothing about resistance? Do you know nothing about power? Do you know nothing about gain? So what do you know? So based on the type of electric parameter that is being amplified by the amplifier, we have 3. The first one is called the voltage amplifier, which is actual amplify voltage or increase the amplitude of the signal. The second one is called the current amplifier. And the third one is called the power amplifier. Class A, voltage amplifier. Current amplifier. Power amplifier. So ask your neighbor, which one do you know among the 3? So power amplifier. Others, they say that power amplifier. Ask your neighbor, what is power amplifier? Which type of the amplifier your neighbor knows? Power amplifier. How many types of power amplifier do we have? Or where are we using power amplifier? Just ask your neighbor. In analogy? In transmitter? To transmit what? Then, let us have a simple discussion about voltage amplifier. And then, because your neighbor told you that he or she knows about the meaning of he or she knows voltage amplifier, ask your neighbor, what the meaning of voltage amplifier? Class A, voltage amplifier. So ask your neighbor now. Okay, voltage amplifier. This is the type of the amplifier you've been learning in A level. So your neighbor is familiar with it. So ask him, what's the voltage amplifier? You learned about amplifier. You've been drawing about common emitter, common collector. I've just given you a clue. So a voltage, class A voltage amplifier, power. Again, say loudly, voltage amplifier. Good. A voltage amplifier, simply say that, is the type of electronics amplifier. This is the type of electronics amplifier. It's a type of electronics amplifier that increases the amplitude. That increases the amplitude of the voltage signal. The amplitude voltage, the amplitude of the voltage signal. So simply this one is going to affect the amplitude of the voltage. Remember that whenever we have electric signal, we have the parameter of voltage, the parameter of current, and parameter of power. So now you have to understand, because you used to claim, you have to understand that this amplifier, which parameter is it going to change? Or which parameter its amplitude will be changing? Because whenever we have the flow of electric current, or the flow of just alternating current from one point to another point, we have current within it, we have voltage within it, we have power within it. So for you, you're just claiming that an amplifier just increase the amplitude of the signal. That's all. But you've never thought about which type of the parameter that this amplifier is going to increase its amplitude. Because when you say it's a voltage amplifier, actually it's going to affect the amplitude of the voltage as electric parameter in that signal. It will never work, or it will never does anything with current. It will never does anything with voltage, with power. Are we together? So I know that you know, or you have something you've crammed in amplifiers, but that's what I told you. Just the amplifier for me, real, for what that God has been teaching in amplifier, it could be a subject, not just a topic. It's a subject that we can learn even 20 weeks. And we are still discussing about amplifiers. It's a huge topic and important topic in the world of today. Because you can not say that I will design a sensor. Whenever you design a sensor, remember that sensors always convey the real world physical phenomena into few millivolts, which actually that you cannot interface with the other electronic system. So you have to amplify them before you send them to the next block. So, for instance, we can say that, let me just see, open your eyes. Tell your neighbor, get prepared to open your eyes. I say, tell your neighbor, get prepared for your eyes to be opened. You have to start, my neighbor. Do you love your neighbor? Do you love your neighbor? No. Who do you love? Your enemy? So if this is the voltage signal, this is the input voltage signal to the amplifier, and then you can have a current, depend. Sometimes you can find that the current, the waveform for the current is this one. And then you can find that maybe the waveform for the power power against the time, you may find that something like this. So if you introduce this is the single signal. If you introduce it to the amplifier, to the voltage amplifier, then what do you expect? We expect, it depends which type of amplifier. Let us say that just the common emitter amplifier. So the output signal will be actual, this one. So this is the input signal, and this is the output signal, or output voltage signal. So remember the output, the amplitudes and the nature or the amplitude of the current or the parameter of currents will remain unchanged, and even the amplitude for the power will remain unchanged. What will actually change is just the amplitude of the voltage. But remember that whenever we have voltage, we have current. And whenever we have currents and voltage, we have power. Are we together? Yeah. So that's how I used to open your eyes. Because for you, you've been just dealing with this one. And you think that voltage exists itself. You ignore current, you ignore power. Then number 3 is called the current amplifier. Say current amplifier. Say current amplifier. So what is current amplifier? So a current amplifier we say that is a type of amplifier, with the type of electronics amplifier that increases the amplitude of electric current signal. So stop writing. I said stop writing. So this is figure 1A, B, C. The waveform of voltage amplifier. Waveform produced or given out or obtained or phones from the voltage amplifier. Say stop writing. So in case that this is the single signal, say single signal. It's just like yourself. Can you find a human being without a digestive system? No. Can you find a human being without excretion system? Can you find a human being without a coordination system? No. So whenever we discuss or we say that now, or maybe this type of the food is going to affect coordination system, it doesn't mean that it's going to affect the digestive system. Right? Right? Yes. So if you wanted to understand about these 3 important electric parameters, current, voltage, power, define them in that context. So now in case you want to amplify the current of the same signal, then you need again to have another amplifier, which is current what? Which is current what? Current what? So the current amplifier will just amplify the electric current. It won't change the amplitude of the voltage. It won't change the amplitude of the power. Are we together? Are we together? Okay. Then The third type is called the power amplifier. I'm just building the foundation of the amplifier in your mind before I take you into electronics communication amplifiers. This is the foundation. Say foundations of amplifiers. So then we have power amplifier. And this will be question number 4. What is power amplifier? What is power amplifier? Say power amplifier. Again, say power amplifier. Then ask your neighbor, my neighbor, I would like to call you a nickname called the power amplifier. Will you agree? Tell your neighbor, please. Get tired to call your neighbor. Get through to call your neighbor. Mikidadi, retire for that. Just call him whenever you meet in the electronics classes or communication classes. You just call, hello, power amplifier. Okay, so we say that a power amplifier. A power amplifier is a type of electronics amplifiers that increases the amplitude of the power signal. So this one will only affect the amplitude of the power signal. So these are the 3 main types of electronics amplifiers. Depending on the type of electric utility, So for instance, if this is the waveform, stop writing. If this is the waveform of the power signal, found within this signal that is required to be amplified, you want to increase its amplitude. Then, the most preferable you have to choose, or you have to design and think about it, power amplifier. So the power amplifier will not affect the nature of the voltage signal and the nature of the current signal. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes. Class, let me just know. Is it clear? Yes. Well. In most applications of amplifiers, the voltage amplifier is often used compared to current and a voltage amplifier. So the voltage amplifier, you have been heard about the voltage amplifier in our A-level education because we use it oftenly rather than current amplifier and power amplifier. So there are so many applications where that we use voltage amplifier, and there are also some applications where we need current amplifier and voltage amplifier. Then this is the point to note. Voltage amplifiers, current amplifiers, and the power amplifiers are designed by using the following semiconductor devices. The first semiconductor devices or device that we are using to design either of those three types of amplifier is called the bipolar junction transistor. In short, you call it BJT. So if you don't know anything about bipolar junction, or just you didn't master it, then I want to tell you that there's no way out that you can design amplifiers without knowing them. Then the other ones is called the unipolar junction transistor. Unipolar junction transistor, or sometimes we call it the field effective transistor. Field effective transistor. In short, we call it FET. This is the second semiconductor device we use to design amplifier. And the third one is operational amplifiers, which are shortly called them op-amp. So we design voltage amplifier, mikidadi. Mikidadi, you are sending signal to the receiver on your left-hand side and your receiver on the right-hand side. How do we design amplifiers? What do we use to design amplifiers? Class is silent. While I've mentioned there. Class, what are we using to design amplifiers? Okay, so you don't want to mention. Good. So we use either bipolar junction transistor, which is BJT, in short. We may use unipolar junction transistor or field effect transistor, which is called the FET in short, where we have two types. We have junction field effect transistor, and also we have metal oxide semiconductor field effective transistor. In short, we call them MOSFET. So you have either JFET or we may use MOSFET. And especially for the power transistor, each type of this semiconductor has its advantages on designing a particular types of the amplifier. Or we may use operational amplifiers, and remember that all the operational amplifiers are integrated circuit, which in short we call them op-amps, where we have inverting operational amplifier and non-inverting operational amplifier. That's the primary function. So whenever you think about amplifier, you have to think about those three semiconductor devices. Otherwise, you'll be just having some stories of the amplifier which are not practical. Are we together? Are we together? So in case you say that myself, I would like to be expert on designing about amplifiers, then the first step is not to learn about how you can design amplifier. The first step, you have to learn about this semiconductor device. Once you understand them, you know that how you can use them effectively to design either voltage amplifier or current amplifier or power amplifier. Are we together? Are we together? So these are the semiconductor devices. I think I made a mistake here. In most applications of the amplifier, the voltage amplifier is often used compared it to current and power amplifier. So one of your classmates have just gave me or have paid attention on that, and then let us correct. For you, I know that because you are copying and pasting, you have copied. Well, so We say that we are using either bipolar junction transistor, where we have only two types of bipolar junction transistor. We have NPN bipolar junction transistor and PNP bipolar junction transistor. In case of the field defect transistor, we have junction field defect transistor and metal oxide semiconductor field defect transistor. In case of operation amplifier, we have two types: inverting operation amplifier and non-inverting operation amplifier. So in each of these semiconductor, we just have two types. Right? So when you have two types, you might find that one type between the two types is oftenly used compared to others. Then there's one of your classmates who have asked me a question: which one among these three semiconductor devices is often used to design amplifiers? Fatuma? Yes. So the answer of that question, what did I say, Fatuma? Fatuma was not in the class. Let me repeat. One of your classmates has asked me a question: among these three semiconductor devices, which one is oftenly used to design amplifiers or electronics amplifier? The response for that question is all the three are oftenly used to design amplifiers depending on the purpose of that amplifier. So bipolar junction transistors are used to design amplifiers. Field defect transistors are used to design amplifiers. Operation amplifiers are used to design amplifiers. So you should not try to find just the simplicity. Let me focus on BJT. Okay, focus BJT. If you don't know FET, you don't know op-amps, in case that you need just to design an amplifier for, by using FET or the op-amps, because each type of this semiconductor device has more advantages when you are using it to design a particular type of amplifier. Because in the world of today, we have different types of electronics amplifiers. We have hundreds of types of electronics amplifiers. And we are using them in different fields of technology. Are we together? Are we together? So this is important fact. Okay, so after introducing you about what we have been discussing, now let us pay attention on electronics communication amplifiers. So at least you have the foundation about electronics amplifiers. Then now let us dive, I think that before this one, I think that I have to give you one sentence. This is the note. There are two main categories of the amplifiers. Namely, we have electronics amplifiers, class A electronics amplifiers. Say electronics amplifiers. And also the second category, we call them communication electronics amplifiers. Communication electronics amplifiers. So those are the two categories. We have some amplifiers or some electronics amplifiers which are not used for the communication purpose. Stop writing. With these two categories, it doesn't mean that all the electronics amplifiers are used in communication field or in electronics communication field, right? And it doesn't mean that all electronics communication amplifiers are used just in any field of electronics. No. We have some amplifiers just to amplify electric signal used in electronic circuits, which are not in communication circuits. And also we have another categories of amplifiers which are oftenly or mostly used whenever we have a communication system or communication circuits. Are we together? Are we together? So the electronics amplifier which have been discussing in electronics engineering is all about the electronics amplifier. In this module, we have to pay attention about communication electronics amplifiers. And I know that this is the new terminology for you. If you don't trust me, or if you don't trust what I've said, let us dive into the concept. So class, say electronics communication amplifier. Say electronics communication amplifiers. So, the electronics communication amplifiers, we say that are the electronics amplifiers that are oftenly used in design of electronics communication system. That the meanings of electronics communication amplifier. So these are the amplifiers. We often find them whenever we talk about any communication, about the communication system. Right? Right? Are we together? So we say that in telecommunication engineering, there are different types of electronics amplifiers or electronics communication amplifiers. The following are some examples of electronics communication amplifiers. Ask your neighbor, are you ready to learn electronics communication amplifiers? The following are some examples of electronics communication amplifier. I told you, ask your neighbor, are you ready to learn electronics communication amplifiers? The first example, we call it audio amplifier. The second example, we call it intermediate frequency or IF amplifier. The third example, we call it radio frequency or RF amplifier. The fourth example, we call it video amplifier. The fifth example, we call it wideband amplifier. Then let me leave a homework. Go and find the sixth example, the seventh example, the eighth example, the ninth example, the 10th example. I gave you 5 examples. Go and find some other examples. You should not find just an example or just examples of electronics amplifier. No, electronics communication amplifiers. So this is audio frequency amplifiers. Class A, audio frequency amplifier. Again, say intermediate frequency amplifier. Glory, say radio frequency amplifier. Are you Glory? Glory, say radio frequency amplifier. Glory, you are making jokes. We are serious in this class. Class A, radio frequency amplifier. Again, say radio frequency amplifier. Remember that when you pronounce, you are writing the information in your subconscious mind. Then class A, video amplifier. And then class A, wideband amplifier. So these are some examples of electronic communication amplifier. So whether you're discussing about audio communication system, you will encounter audio frequency amplifier. In case that you're discussing about maybe radar system, or you're discussing, yes, about radar system or television receiver system, actual, especially the receiver part, you will encounter intermediate frequency amplifier. Whenever that you're discussing about wireless communication, you will encounter radio frequency amplifier. There's no way out that you can discuss wireless communication without radio frequency amplifier. And there's also some other examples of amplifier, but I don't want to mention them. But just for the time being, just leave them. You cannot discuss about transmission and reception of the video. For instance, that you have your television receiver set. And when you have your television receiver sets, always used to receive the video from a particular scene. And when you receive that video, remember that whenever you're discussing about television system, or you're discussing about any types that, or any communication system where the video is being transmitted or is being communicated, there's no way out that you have to discuss it without mentioning about a video amplifier. Similarly, wideband amplifier, this is the very important amplifier that we mostly use, especially in designing test instrument. And these test instruments, example, we use that wideband amplifiers in designing cathode ray oscilloscope or in designing either analog or digital oscilloscopes. So you say that the oscilloscope, also it's a communication amplifier, it's a communication device. So, let us dive into each type. Let us dive into each type of this communication amplifier. So let us start with audio frequency amplifier. Say audio frequency amplifier. Class A, audio frequency amplifier. Hopefully this is one of the amplifier that you know, but you just learned it as a small slices. You have learned about small signal amplifier. You have learned about just the audio frequency amplifier. But you haven't saw that we can use it in communication. So we have a very important question. What is audio amplifier? What is audio amplifier? Audio frequency amplifier. So this is an amplifier that you are familiar with. So ask your neighbor, what is audio frequency amplifier? It's a one that you use to design as a potential divider amplifier, as a fixed bias amplifier, as a common emitter amplifier, common base amplifier, common collector amplifier. That's the one that you use to design. This is the gift I gave you. Class A, audio frequency amplifier. So ask your neighbor, what is audio frequency amplifier? Ask your neighbor, please. Ask your neighbor. Possibly he's the expert in this field. We want to know. So, you heard the definition from your neighbor. An audio frequency An audio frequency amplifier is a type of electronics amplifier. This is the type of electronics amplifier which used to amplify the audio, or we call it a voice, or we call it sometimes sound signal at the frequency, electric signal. Remember that amplifiers receive electric signal and gives out electric signal. Right? Amplifiers receive what? Receive information signal in electric form and gives out the electric signal in electric form. So we don't have any amplifier that maybe amplify mechanical signal. We don't have any amplifier that amplify, I say sopwriting. Remember that any type of electronics communication amplifier amplifies the information signal in form of electric. If it is light signal, it has to be converted or it has to be transduced. If it is mechanical signal, it has to be converted into electrical form. So for this audio frequency amplifier, we say that this is the type of electronic amplifier which used it to amplify the audio or sound or voice electric signal. Very important. You should not say just a signal. Which type of that signal? What the form of energy in that signal? Then, so when it's amplified the audio or voice or sound electric signal, this is still continuing this sentence, in the range. So this is amplified in the range of the human hearing range. Simply we say this one is from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. This is the simple definition of the audio frequency amplifier. Refer your neighbor's definition. Refer your neighbor's definition. What did your neighbor told you? Your neighbor told you that audio frequency amplifier is the audio frequency amplifier? So this is the type of electronics, class A audio frequency amplifier. So audio frequency amplifier, we say that this is the type of electronics amplifier which used it to amplify the audio or voice or sound electric signal in the range of the human hearing capability. In the range of the human hearing capability. Capability. From 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. So this is an amplifier which is specifically dedicated to amplify audio signal. And that audio signal should be the one for the human. Because we have some living organism which actually can hear just the sound signal in the frequency outside the human range hearing capability. For instance, rats, they can hear actual a signal which is which is outside that range of 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. They can hear up to 40 kilohertz. That's why they are very sensitive. Do you know rats? Yes. Huh? Do you know rats? Do you have rats at your home? So this is very important. This is the keyword. I told you engineering is all about numbers. We have weights there, but we have numbers. And those numbers matter a lot more than you think. Are we together? Okay. So ask your neighbor, how many types of audio frequency amplifier do we have? Ask your neighbor, how many types of audio frequency amplifier do we have? You use always mobile phone. And mobile phones have to transmit your audio signal. How many types of audio frequency amplifier do we have? Hurry up. Mnashangaa tu hapa. Umeshapewa tafsiri, then you don't think why. You are just waiting. Right sir, teach sir. You have been learning about audio frequency signal, audio frequency amplifier since your level, and then you don't know how many tests you have. So what I think that you have been calculating about current gain, which is equal to collector currents over base current for the common emitter configuration. So which type is that? Yes, the human being can hear the signal within that range of frequency, from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Your ear cannot hear it. We are the human being which actually whom we have been created by God. Our hearing capability of our ears. Touch your ear. Our hearing capability, we can hear an audio signal, Johan is chatting, an audio signal which its frequency range from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. We cannot hear any audio signal with the frequency less than 20 Hz and the frequency greater than 20 kHz. It doesn't mean that you as a human being, you can hear everything. Or you can hear every signal. No. There's a lot of signals in this atmosphere. You don't hear them. And it's not to your purpose that you have a hearing problem. No. That's according how our God has created us. Be satisfied with what you are hearing. Don't boast about what you don't hear. And you should not limit it at maybe the sound signal or the voice signal is always within this range. I didn't say that. Let me repeat. You should not cram, because I know you're expert in cramming. Tell your neighbor, our teacher knows that you're expert in cramming. Tell him or her. I didn't say that, and I would not like just to tell you to cram that. All the audio signal or sound signal or voice signal are within this range. No. This is the range of the audio signal that we can hear. But we can have, for instance, ultrasonic sensors, they can produce a sound signal of 40 kHz. It's sound signal. You can't hear it. Are we together? Are we together? We can have a sound signal of even 1 megahertz. So don't claim that all the audio signal have a frequency from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. No. I haven't said that. I told you, ask your neighbor the types of audio frequency. Audio frequency amplifier. Audio frequency amplifiers are used to amplify. These are used to amplify the low level audio signal. A low level audio signal from the microphone from the microphone, or we call it a disc pickup. Disc pickup. Sometimes the audio amplifier or audio frequency amplifier, the audio frequency amplifier is known as small signal amplifier. Say small signal amplifier. Again, say small signal amplifier. So that is all about the introductions of audio frequency amplifier. Then number 2, it's intermediate. Intermediate frequency or IF amplifier. Say intermediate frequency amplifier. I think that this is not because you have been learning about telecommunication. Hopefully this is not a new terminology for you. But let me just remind you and give you some important information about it. So, for some of you, this is the new terminology still. What is IF amplifier? The intermediate frequency amplifier is a type of electronics communication amplifier, that is used in tuning amplifier. So remember that this is the introduction about audio frequency amplifier. You have to go further and further and further. That is used to tune as in tuning amplifier to tune the electric signal, Class A intermediate frequency amplifier. So what is it? This is a type of electronics communication amplifier that is used in tuning amplifier. Say tuning amplifier. So tuning amplifier to tune what? To tune electric signal. So you say tuning amplifier or tuning system. This is very simple for you to learn it. Separating. Tuning is actual finding about a particular frequency. Nowadays we have digital tuners. Previously we used to have the analog tuners. Right? For instance, in the analog or we just call this normal radio receiver, we have just one note or one knock for what? For actual increase for the volume up and volume down. That is not tuning. And then we have the other ones, just see, we use it to tune to find a particular radio station. Do you know it? I say that if you have seen a radio is always has a frequency spectrums within it, right? Mostly I think that from 88.5, if I'm not mistaken, up to 108. So actually there's a potentiometer which is you'll be actually rotating either to increase the frequency, to move what? To move the pointer, right? So you move the pointer to the particular frequency, then you can receive the radio information, right? So the one that you'll be tuning, it's a one that we call analog tuner. It's, in most cases, it's just in this form, right? And then it has some threads. Did you remember it? Nowadays, you have digital tuners, for instance, in our mobile phone. So in the digital tuner, it's actually that you have to choose or to tune a particular radio station. So that is one of the functions of tuning amplifier. Are we together? Very important whenever you think about tuning mechanism. The intermediate frequency or the IF amplifiers, are used in radio receivers, These tuning IF amplifiers are also used in television receiver. Say radio receivers. Say radio receivers. Also, these intermediate frequency amplifiers are used in television receivers. And also this one are used in radars receivers. And in radar receivers, example, pulse primary radar uses intermediate frequency amplifier to amplify the signal which has been given, which has been received or which has been given out from the low noise amplifier and the local oscillator. So these are the three main applications of IF amplifiers. We use them in radio receivers, as I've told you, or I've taught you. We use them in television receivers, but also we use them in radar receivers. So remember that radio receiver, it's a telecommunication system. Television receiver is a telecommunication system. Radar system is a telecommunication system. Are we together? Class, are we together? The main purpose of IF amplifier, the main purpose of intermediate frequency amplifier is to provide majority of the voltage of amplification of a TV or of television, TV or radar signal. Television signal or radar signal. Radar signals. Before the audio or video signal, for the radio or video signal carried out for the video are carried towards the detector or the modulator. So the main purpose of having intermediate frequency in radio receiver, say radio receiver. Radio receiver, it's the one that you have because you have radio transmitters and radio receivers. So you cannot buy radio transmitter. Radio transmitter is located at the radio station, such as TBC, such as Klaus radio station, such as Upendo radio station, such as TBC radio station. That's the point where you find radio transmitter. So what you used to own is radio what? Receiver. So any radio receiver, it consists of what? Intermediate frequency what? Amplifier. So in case you have a radio receiver at your home, today you can go and open it and then identify the IF amplifier. But the main purpose of having it in television receiver or in radar receivers is actual to, the main purpose of this one, IF amplifier, is to provide majority of the voltage of amplification of television signal or radar signal before the audio or video signal is carried towards the detector or the modulator. Listen, students, listen. Let me just give you a secret here. Listen. Remember that the radio transmitter, the television transmitter, and the radar transmitter propagates the radio waves in high frequency, which we call it RF. So, in most cases that we say that for these three types of receivers, we call them super heterodyne receivers. Say super heterodyne receivers. So super heterodyne receivers, these are the radio receivers which actually can convey the radio frequency signal received from the distant transmitter into the intermediate frequency signal. So once it conveys the radio frequency into the intermediate frequency signal, why? Because the next block, which is intermediate frequency block, it's difficult for the demodulator to demodulate the radio frequency rather than to demodulate the carrier signal in intermediate frequency bandwidth. I think that some of the information is a little bit advanced according to you. You say, sir, are you talking to yourself? Or you are talking to us? I'm talking to you. And that's all about telecommunication. Ask your neighbor, why do we need IF amplifier? If you don't ask your neighbor, I will ask you in exam. Okay. Just ignore. Just ignore. Then they said the electronics communication amplifier is called the radio frequency. Radio frequency, or we call it RF amplifier. This is another important amplifier. Say radio frequency amplifier. Say radio frequency amplifier. So I don't know about you, but whenever I hear about radio frequency amplifier, for me, I usually used to think about transmitter in telecommunication system. I don't know about you. Maybe you hear radio frequency amplifier separate, and you hear just the telecommunication transmitter separate. Because you used to isolate concepts. You're waiting somebody to help you to link the concept. So then, here it's a question. What is RF amplifier? What is RF amplifier? Or what is radio frequency amplifier? The RF amplifier, we say that is a type of amplifier. This is the type of amplifier, or it's a type of electronics communication amplifier that is used as tuned amplifier, in which the frequency of operation is governed by tuning or tuned circuit. Tuned circuit equipment. Tuned circuit equipment. So again, class A, RF amplifier. So this is the type of electronics communication amplifier that is used as tuned amplifier, in which the frequency of operation is governed by tuning circuit equipment. So tuning is again around the corner. There is no way out that you can master telecommunication engineering if you don't know anything about tuning. So the RF amplifiers are used to amplify the radio signal with RF frequency. So remember that when you say RF signal, we know that the light spectrum has 7, or the light has 7 spectrum. The first spectrum is RF, or radio frequency. The second one is microwave. The third one is infrared. We use just the RF, microwave, and the infrared in communication, and also visible light in fiber optics communication. In most cases, whenever we mention about radio signal, we can have this one. In most cases, or sometimes, we can have modulated RF signal. So a modulated RF signal, simply, we have information. It's a combination of information signal plus carrier signal. So in most cases, whenever we talk about RF, we talk about either carrier signal itself, or we talk about modulated signal. So remember that the RF amplifiers are mostly used in transmitter. The RF amplifiers are mostly used in telecommunication transmitters. Precious, Where do we use RF amplifiers? Huh? So the class was not there. Stop writing. I say we mostly use RF or radio frequency amplifiers. We use them in telecommunication transmitters. Say telecommunication transmitters. Especially wireless telecommunication transmitters. Wireless telecommunication transmitters. Where do we, so in RF or in telecommunication transmitters, where do we get radio frequency? Huh? I'm talking to you. In telecommunication transmitters, where do we get radio frequency signal? Huh. So you forgot what you have learned in practical electronics in semester 1. Because in practical electronics in semester 1, you have been taught about oscillator. Oscillator is a RF generator. You know, sometimes I get surprised about you, especially this new age. You are ready to learn something and then you don't bother yourself. How does it look like? How does it work? You don't bother yourself. You just receive, you write, then over. You're waiting for exam. This isn't Samandito. That's what you have paid the tuition fee for. Eh? Because now I've taught you about RF. You know, one of the questions in your mind, how can I get RF signal? That's a very important. How can I? Even if I don't know, how can I generate? But having an idea that we do generate a RF signal from this source, that's what comes. Because it can be confusing to you. When you say that this is a signal within with the frequency and wavelengths of the light, then you might think that we have light. We expect to have light. So you might get it from the white light. While it's not true. This RF signal, this we generate them from oscillators. Are we together? Are we together? Okay. They are the tuning circuit. The tuning circuit of RF amplifier. The tuning circuit of RF amplifier may or may not. May or may not be adjustable. Adjustable. So for the RF, you may adjust that tuning circuit or you may not adjust that tuning circuit. Adjustable depending on the purpose. Depending on the purpose. Purpose of 40, purpose of RF amplifier. In case of intermediate frequency amplifier, then the tuner should be adjustable. In case of RF amplifier, the tuner may either adjustable or may not adjustable. Are we together? That's all about telecommunication engineering. Then let me just, present to you this last sentence about radio frequency amplifier. The bandwidth, this is a very important sentence. Class, say bandwidth. Say bandwidth. The bandwidth of the RF amplifier. The bandwidth of RF amplifier may be wide or narrow, depending depending on the purpose of the RF amplifier. So the bandwidth means that the range of the frequency. It might be narrow or it might be wide. Say narrow bandwidth. Say narrow bandwidth. Say wide bandwidth. Okay. So we still have a short discussion about video amplifier and wideband amplifier, and then this will be the end of this class. But I will leave the homework also. The first types of electronics communication amplifier is called the video amplifier. Say video amplifier. Say video amplifier. Ask your neighbor, how many movies do you have in your computer? How many? Many? Okay, so those are the videos. So within your computer, there is a video amplifier. So I know for some of you, or most of you, this is the new terminology. So let us know its meaning and then discuss it with regards to the amplifier. What is video amplifier? You may ask your neighbor, because always you like to ask your neighbors. Your neighbor is just smiling, eh? Video amplifier, or video amplifier, we say that video amplifiers are the special type of wideband, special wideband amplifiers. These are the special type of wideband amplifiers that preserve the DC level, so that preserve the DC level of the signal. So video amplifiers are the special type of wideband amplifiers that preserve the DC level of the signal. Simply, video amplifiers, this is the type of the amplifiers which actually amplify the video signal. So the video amplifiers are used to amplify the video signal. These are used to amplify the video signal in communication system. So the amplified video signal may be applied to the CRT screens CRT screens, or CRT screen, or flat television screens, or call them smart television screen, and so there other video equipment. These amplifiers are used in television, TV system, and the radar system. For instance, in past primary radar, we used video amplifier to amplify the pass signal or the pass echo signal reflected by the distant target. The bandwidth, this is the last statement for the foundations of video amplifier. The bandwidth of the video signal range from 0 Hz, that's what we call TDC. Remember that we said actual that amplifiers that preserves the DC level. Remember, DC signal is frequency 0, right? So its bandwidth range from 0 Hz to 60 gigahertz in television receivers. So in television receivers, we can have a video signal with frequency between 0 Hz to 60 gigahertz. Remember, I told you that engineering or telecommunication or communication engineering is all about numbers. So whenever you see numbers, be sensitive. Your receiving antenna should be on. Then, ladies and gentlemen, let us end this workshop 7 by discussing about wideband. Wideband amplifier. Wideband amplifier. Class A wideband amplifier. Ask your neighbor if your neighbor has an idea about wideband amplifier or not. Just ask. Have you ever heard about wideband amplifier? Ask him. Don't assume that I know that my neighbors have no any information about wideband amplifier. No information. And you tell her. So Abdullah, what is wideband amplifier? Abdullah, how are you? What is wideband amplifier? No idea. Ask Joseph Pasco. He doesn't know. Ask the other neighbor, the backbencher, Sen. Empty. Ask Namvua. Ask Namvua. Do you know who is Namvua? You don't know. Ask Precious. Do you know who is Precious? You know? Ask her. Ask Precious what is wideband amplifier. So what is wideband amplifier? Say wideband amplifier. Say wideband amplifier. A wideband amplifier is a type of telecommunication amplifiers. This is the type of telecommunication amplifiers that must have a constant gain. A constant gain from the C. From the C to several. From the C to several tons of megahertz range. So a wideband amplifier, this is the type of the amplifier. It's a type of telecommunication or communication amplifier that must have a constant gain from DC to several tons of megahertz. It means from DC, which means that its frequency is 0 hertz, to several tons, or to several megahertz range. Then, why should we learn about these amplifiers? These amplifiers are used in design of measuring, in designing of telecommunication measuring equipment such as oscilloscope. So we use these wideband amplifiers when we are designing oscilloscope. Do you know oscilloscope? So when you want to do the maintenance of oscilloscope, one of the parts in its motherboard, which you should expect, is a wideband amplifier. And there's also the question, why should we use wideband amplifier and not the audio frequency amplifier, and not the video amplifier, and not the RF amplifier, and not the intermediate frequency amplifier? Why do you need wideband? For instance, the oscilloscope, you know what its frequency or its range of frequency that can measure the signal. Huh? One of the oscilloscope that you know, you had a practical and a lab about oscilloscope. I know. I have the information. So the oscilloscope that you had, what its minimum frequency and maximum frequency. It means it can display the waveform of what minimum frequency and what its what maximum frequency. Can you tell me? You have no idea. And you are calling yourself that you are expert in oscilloscope. Who can tell me? One of the oscilloscope. Oro? Our maximum frequency is 20 megahertz. And minimum frequency? Somebody can help you because you're not alone in the class. Clap your hand for him. I told you that whenever you want to know about anything, just consult the manufacturer. So your classmate has answered that questions about the maximum frequency of the digital oscilloscope that we have in our electronics lab. It's 20 megahertz. And that is the mind of the manufacturer. If you read the user manual for that oscilloscope, then they mention the minimum frequency that oscilloscope, the minimum frequency of the signal that the oscilloscope can display, and the maximum frequency. Why? There is no any oscilloscope which can display the waveform of any signal of any frequency. It's just like you yourself. You cannot eat every food that you see in this world. So you are specific. So because you are specific, why do you think that in electronics there is no specification? Are we together? Eh? Are we together? So one of the telecommunication measuring equipments, because oscilloscope is one of the telecommunication measuring instruments. And that's why that when we've been drawing about, oh, this is the waveform of the information signal. This is the waveform of the carrier signal. We want to see them in oscilloscope. Sometimes one of the measuring, telecommunication measuring equipment is called the frequency spectrum or spectrum analyzer. And they have so many measuring or telecommunication measuring equipments that we are using to measure the signal. Then, so these amplifiers are used in design of oscilloscope because there is a need of what? There's a need of, or there's a need of measuring the frequency of the signal of a wide range of a wide range of frequency. A wide range of frequency with low gain. So these are the reasons why do we need wide band. Say wide band. Wide band means that wide bandwidth. Right? Wide what? Bandwidth. So the digital oscilloscope that you have actually can display waveform from a certain minimum. I won't mention because you have to go and find it. From the certain minimum frequency to 20 megahertz. So it's not every amplifier that can have that bandwidth. Some of the amplifiers, they can have a bandwidth of, let's say, 1 kilohertz. So the difference between the minimum frequency and maximum frequency. But for this one, actually it has a wide bandwidth. That's why we call it a wide band amplifier. Class, are we together? Class, are we together? If you are together, then my God is telling me that Olenjolain, it's enough. But I can't leave you without the homework. This is homework number 7. There are 2 questions. Make sure that you do them in this weekend. Make sure that you understand them. Draw the clear block diagram of each type of electronics communication, or draw, I think that there's not just, draw the clear block diagram of each type of the 5 discussed electronics communication amplifiers. That's the first question. The second question, draw the clear schematic circuit diagram of each block diagram in question 1 above. Enjoy this homework. When you do it, actually you'll have Brighton. So when you do this homework, when you'll be doing your detailed study about block diagram of audio frequency amplifier, block diagram of intermediate frequency amplifier, block diagram of video amplifier, block diagram of RF amplifier, block diagram of wideband amplifier. Actually, I believe that you will improve your knowledge about electronics, communication, amplifiers. I say it's not the time to close your bag. In case that you do question number 2 effectively and do your detailed studies about the schematic circuit diagram of each type of those 5 amplifiers that we've discussed, which I've given you the idea and I've told you what are they doing and where can you find them, then I want to tell you that your understanding about electronics communication amplifier will actually grow up. But in case you'll go and just Google and copy and paste, I want to tell you that your level of understanding about electronics communication amplifier will remain the same as long as we end it at this point. So it's a matter of every student to go through and concentrate on it. So if this is the case, this is the end of workshop number 7. Let me know. Did you understand? Did you understand? Class, let me know. Did you understand or you haven't understood? Eh? Okay. Always I appreciate you. Now it's a time to congratulate you. You had a very interesting workshop 7 of more than 1 hour. So now it's a time for you to celebrate that I've got something. Did you get something? Did you get something new? 1, 2, 3. Hongera. Imara. Wow. So I would like to invite you in the next workshop, that is workshop number 8. But remember to be a serious online student. We used to publish these videos at least 1 in a week. Make sure that you listen and you go through them as well as we can. And you may write even the new notes, especially that the message or the contents that I've communicated to you verbally. So if that's the case, thank you very much. May God bless you, and see you in workshop 8.